My name is Jonathan Gillum.
And this is The Experts.
This is Jonathan Gillum, and this is The Experts on Facebook Live, Twitter, and YouTube. And it's good to be back on social media, folks. And I'm going to have to adjust my camera. For some reason, I must have hit it and knocked it up. But while I'm doing that, we are going to talk today about, remember this show is raw, it's unfiltered, and unfortunately my camera's not adjusting, but today's show, folks, I'm going to get right back in the mix. There you go. See? I'm getting right back in the mix, and we're talking about the Trump-Bannon feud. I find no better example of all the things I've been talking about for 2 years about the crap that goes on in the conservative minds in this country and how we fail to unify. We're going to talk about that. And then I talked about this last week on Newsmax television. I want to bring it up again tonight so I can go into it a little bit more. And that would be the reality of the war in Afghanistan. So listen up, folks. Let's do this. So I'm sitting here, and first off, it's good to be back here. I was gone there we did a week and a day on Newsmax, and those of you that follow this show on a regular basis, you know the past couple of weeks, always around Christmas time, I get very busy hosting for other people on their shows because I still don't have a show in the radio anyway. Radio gets real busy around Christmas time because oh, look, our trolls. I'm glad you're back there, troll. So, you know, David Webb goes on vacation. Wilcow goes on vacation. Hannity goes on vacation. So I get real busy over that period of time. And so add into that doing Newsmax every day for a week and a day. And it was great. It was a great experience. I know that I could do a TV show. I mean, I basically do that anyway doing this. Actually, it's almost like doing a radio show in itself because I go well over. I talk, believe it or not, this is the way it works, folks. When you think about this, the radio shows that you listen to, they normally last 3 hours. But overall, they are about, and when you average in commercials, the talk time is between an hour and 30 minutes and maybe hour 40 minutes, a little bit more or less. And so this show normally runs about that length of time, but we don't have any breaks. We don't stop. So, but it was interesting process. It was interesting being on a network, a news show with the being broadcast from my studio. And so, sorry, I'm trying to get a visual of who this person is so I can go block them. So and that's the other thing that I love. Newsmax has a chat session that you can get on. Many of you did get on that. And the great thing about it is that you are able to sign into a chat session, but you got to sign up for it so they can block you if you're causing problems. So, you know, here's the reality of this whole stuff about these trolls. Most of these trolls are loyal. They're either put in there by Media Matters, by others like Salon.com, these other types of groups. They're operatives of different shows, actually. They'll put people on here to try to ruin other people's shows and stuff. It's the way it works. It's not a real stressor for me. I don't care. All it does really, and this is what the funny thing about it is, as I've said over and over again, the more attention the trolls give me, the more my well, you keep going, troll, because the more you're on here, the more influence I have. That's what the word I was looking for. Sean Hannity gets a tremendous amount of these trolls, but he also was ranked as the top influencer or one of the top influencers on Twitter in 2017. So, I mean, keep it up, whatever. So anyway, getting back to this, it was very interesting doing this on Newsmax, but I will be honest with you, it's different in the way it's faster. We cover more stories, and I don't have control over a lot of it. That's why right now you're seeing me, I'm kind of fidgeting because I'm having to think my way back through this to get back on board with doing all the production of all this stuff. So it's very interesting. Somebody just asked me on here when Amazon is going to get new books. You know, I'm real tempted during this show to call my publisher and ask them so everybody can hear this, because I keep getting this question. And the fact is, you can still order it on Amazon. It just will. It's going to take, I don't know, a week or two for them to deliver it. I think what happens with Amazon is they get shipments in, and then they're sold as fast as they're coming in because this book is exploding. So unfortunately, there's kind of a backlog on these things. Listen, I warned everybody. This was going to happen. Did I not? I told everybody, I said, this is going to happen. This book is going to take off. I'm predicting it right now. We could tell by the pre-orders for 3 months before it even went to actually it was available to be sold. I knew it was going to happen. I guess there's worse problems that you could have, but the biggest problem I have is that when it goes out of stock at Barnes & Noble, they take it down. You can't even pre-order it on there. So that's the problem with Barnes & Noble. I don't know why they would do that, because it pushes everybody back over to Amazon. But hey, listen, I can't tell them how to do business. So we are going to get the books for you guys and for the people who paid the money into the GoFundMe page. I figured out how I'm going to do this, okay? And this is the way we're going to do it. And this is the best way for me to do it. And I got the idea, not from him, but I was talking to Maureen, and she told me that President Bush signed some books, and the way he did it was the people would order the books, and he actually had a piece of paper, or it's like a sticky thing that you can get, and he signed that and autographed it, sent it to them, and then they put that in the cover of the book themselves. So here's what I'm going to do. We're going to get the books, we're going to send them to you, and then I'm going to have your address, so I'll be able to send this autograph at the same time, and you'll place that in the book, and then that's the way it'll go. That is going to be the quickest way, because see, we're still not getting books either, because they're on back order. I got about 100 books right at Christmas, and then I haven't gotten any more books since then. And Jim DeLong, I don't know, we haven't had time to communicate because of the holidays to coordinate this. So hopefully Jim and I will get together, since this was his idea, and we'll get this ball rolling over the next week and get these things out to you guys. So, and I don't want to say I apologize for this. I told everybody it was going to be after Christmas when we get these to you. So I will get them to you. I think that's going to be the best way to do it. So let's go. So here, let's go ahead and talk about what we're going to discuss today. Let's go to the warning order, and we're going to start this by talking about the Trump and Bannon feud and the reality of what this is doing and the destructiveness of it and the pettiness of it. Let's go to the warning order. Let's do it. Or no, I already did the warning order. We're in the warning order. Let's go to the A block and do that. So I don't know if you could tell, but I can't stand, one of the things I can't, this is a side note, is when in the winter, you know, it gets cold, especially in a New York City apartment, It gets drastically cold because it's all windows. You turn the heat on. When the heat comes on, it is like ferociously hot in here. And then the heat goes off, and then you're extremely cold again. So it's like back and forth, back and forth. So hold on one second here, folks. Let's see here. I think I got this guy now. Boom. All right, stand by here. I gotta go over here to Periscope. Stand by. I gotta figure out how to search for somebody here. There it is. Okay. 1 second. Well, let's see if that does it. And we'll go from there. All right, so let me look at one more thing here. Okay. There we go. So, the Trump-Bannon issue that's going on. I got to tell you, folks, I've been talking for years and years about the reality of the Democratic Party versus the Republican Party, the leftists in this country versus the I didn't want to call the people on the extreme right nationalists or anything, because I don't think that they are. I think that a lot of the people that are on the right, on the far, far right, are anarchists, and they're not really even conservative. Yeah, I mean, maybe they have guns or maybe they believe in the Constitution, but when it comes down to it, they hate government just as much as the supposed people on the left. And the reality is, all these extremists, the thing that really separates them is that the anarchists on the right, the ones that they don't have, it's not just they don't have faith in government, they don't want government. They want the Constitution without police. They don't want any force. A lot of people on the far right don't believe in military operations outside the United States. Then you go to the left and you look at the leftists, you look at the communists in this country. And the reality is, with those people, the same thing. You know, they most of them subscribe to a different ideology than our Constitution. They don't. They want some kind of weird utopia rule. But here's the biggest difference between the two sides. From those leftists, the communists in the Democratic Party, and you go through the liberals, and then, so let's say this is the far left right here. These are the leftists. Now, that's my left. I don't know what's going to be on your camera. These are the leftists. And you go all the way through you just start there, right? From this point over, it's like communists. Okay, so we start here. And you start making your movement towards the middle, and then you go over through the conservatives, and then you get over here, and then here's the nationalists, the I don't know how they got thrown into this, but like the white supremacists, all these other people are over here. This big, huge group of the voting base in this country, and I've given the light bulb analogy over and over again. I'm not going to say much about that today, but when you take this big group, here's the reality of what happens. The people on the left, from the middle to the left, the people who call themselves liberal, who would focus more on Hillary Clinton and the Democratic Party, they watch CNN, they watch MSNBC, those people are easily manipulated by the leftist, and they're easily drawn towards a narrative that is created and spun up in mainstream media. It's spun by celebrities, it's spun by activists, it's spun by politicians, and so they wake up, they hear what they hear on their news, they believe what it says, and they don't question it. And so you don't see, even amongst the higher ranks of the Nancy Pelosi's and Chuck Schumer's and all these people, you don't see this ridiculous infighting on their sides, whether they're far left or not. People subscribe to, they say, we sent these people to Washington, D.C. We want them to do the job. They sit back, they watch TV, they agree with everything that the left says, and they don't really question it. Now, when you come to the middle and you go to the right, what happens? It's complete chaos. There's no unification. Maybe in small groups like this of people watching this show, maybe when you go to rallies for President Trump, you get a lot of people that are agreeing. But overall, what happens is when it comes to the conservatives in this country, or from the middle to the right, the reality is what happens, it's a complete breakdown in unity. I like the fact that conservatives in this country don't take the president for granted. You hear a lot of them questioning the president, and I'm a President Trump supporter, and I have been, but I question a lot of the things that he does. I think the majority of stuff that he's been doing has been successful, but overall, I do not agree with everything that he does. I don't think he has good command and control of these leftist generals or the deep state, and I don't agree with Christopher Wray and the FBI. I don't agree with him putting Robert Mueller in place and saying, oh, that's okay, everything's going to work. I mean, there's lots of things I don't agree with. But the fact is, I'll say that I don't agree with it. And a majority of people that voted for President Trump, if they don't like something, they're going to say they don't agree with it. That's fine. That's actually a good thing. But the problem is that we don't get behind each other, and we don't get behind the Constitution and then rally around the Constitution. We talk about the Constitution a lot, but don't rally around it. See, the left doesn't rally around the Constitution either, but they rally around their narratives, and they rally around their politicians that they send to Washington, D.C. They rally around CNN and these other news outlets that are liberal, Washington Post, New York Times. They rally around those things, and they believe in what they're told. When you look at the right, what we actually stand for is the Constitution. We don't stand for the Fox News narrative. We don't stand for the Republican Party. We don't stand for any particular group, right? It's the Constitution. And we don't rally around the Constitution. So what ends up happening? Bickering, infighting, people in Washington, D.C. that are Republicans, like John McCain, who's really, not really a conservative. He's fake. He's used the conservative platform for a long time to hide his globalistic outlook on life. Sometimes I think that John McCain may have, I don't know, I can't say what's in his heart, but his actions, a lot of the times, it almost looks as though he resents his time as a POW, that I don't know what happened after that, but when he got into government, it just became he became a hideous, leader where he didn't do anything right. And he throws these wrenches into things that are trying to get done quite often. I don't know. Maybe he has some type of resentment against the United States. I don't know. So when you look at, this whole thing that I'm talking about, right? I don't worship Steve Bannon, and I don't worship President Trump. I don't worship any politician. I don't worship any mortal man. I worship one God, the God that's in heaven, the God that is everywhere and everything, created every living thing, created everything, is responsible for everything, and whose Son came down and died for me on this earth so that I could have eternal life in heaven. All right, I believe in that. I worship that. But I don't worship Steve Bannon. I'm not going to think that everything Steve Bannon has to say is right. I don't think everything President Trump has to say is right. But what I will tell you is what's wrong. They're not rallied around the Constitution. They're not rallied around pushing forward policies that are going to be establishing a protectionism around the Constitution. We don't have that. We have people that are trying to protect themselves. I think Steve Bannon wants to run for president. I think he's putting himself into position for that, quite possibly. I mean, I don't know that for sure, but it seems like there's something going on there. He may have good motives. He may have bad motives. The president, I think, is a victim in this case, but I don't like the way he's reacted either. The conservatives in this country failed to rally around the Constitution and stand together, regardless of what they think about each other or not. They will air their grievances out loud, publicly, and not take care of them behind the scenes. This should never have gotten this way. Steve Bannon should have been, before he left, whatever was going on in the White House, Steve Bannon should have been sat down, and they should have either worked it out, or he should have had the holy hell scared out of him, saying that you will go to jail if you break your non-disclosure agreement. And these non-disclosure agreements that we sign in the government, I don't know, is it just me? I know there's other people that are watching this show. I know Christine Newmeyer was never in the military or government, but she might have signed a non-disclosure before. But I know many of the people that are watching this show have signed non-disclosure agreements for the government. If you break those non-disclosure agreements, typically you go to jail if you're in the military, if it has to do with classified information. I don't understand why people are not held accountable for these things. And when it comes to Bannon and Trump, it's a perfect example of what I've been screaming about over the past 2 years. There's no unity on the right, because on the right, everybody thinks that they're correct. They think that their way is the best way. And the reality is there's only one way, and that is what the Constitution says. And we should rally around the Constitution. Policies will fluctuate. Leadership will fluctuate. Opinions will fluctuate. But we have to rally around the Constitution and protect it. And the best way you can do that is to put people in place, first and foremost, that know what they're doing in Washington, D.C., and won't be swayed one way or the other away from the Constitution. We need people who, when they have grievances, will stand together anyway, regardless, and then work it out behind closed doors. I wouldn't care if Bannon and Trump went to blows and punched each other, as long as they got it worked out behind closed doors. I will go on record as saying that what I think is happening between President Trump and Steve Bannon is disgraceful. And I think it is childish and ridiculous, and is a good example of what happens when you have too much of something. And in this case, it's everything they want. And I would love for a day if that stuff would just be taken away from them. And if it was, maybe they'd see the reality of this whole thing. They are systematically destroying 2020 election right now. They're destroying it. I mean, if they keep this up, what's going to happen is the base of the conservative party is going to be crushed. And I can't, for the life of me, I can't understand why Steve Bannon would do this. And I can't get, when is President Trump, look, I like the Twitter. I like the way he used it to circumvent the news media. But good Lord, there's got to be a point when you say, okay, we have to handle this behind closed doors. I'm not going to go out there and attack Steve Bannon when I'm the one that hired him. You see, and you're the one who fired him as well. But look, President Trump, I'm a supporter. But here's the reality. Had you done any research on Steve Bannon whatsoever, you would see that this is a repetitive problem with Steve Bannon. So it's no secret to me. I'd work with Steve Bannon, but I'm going into the process knowing who he is. Okay, he's a bull in a china shop. And he has a personality issue where he doesn't necessarily get along with everybody. If you're going to go into a room with a bull, you better be ready to fight the bull or to break the bull, one of the two. But you don't just invite a bull into your party and expect it nothing to happen. All right, so I don't feel bad for President Trump over this. What does infuriate me, though, is that, look, if somebody says something about your children and they worked in the White House and you brought them in there, it might behoove you to take a step back and let your attorneys shut the person up, because now you look like a fool. And Steve Bannon looks like a fool. And worse than that, the conservative party looks like a fool. I didn't want to say conservative party. Just everything that's not left looks foolish. Now, we know that's not the case. We know that's not the case, but in reality, but it looks foolish. And I can guarantee you in 2020, there's going to be a lot of people that would have said, well, I would have voted for Trump, but I don't like what he did to Bannon. And Bannon should realize that, and if that's his motivation, that's wrong. And Trump should realize that, and he should have played this a little bit better. And it sickens me to my stomach, because we're the ones who are going to suffer from this. Trump's not going to suffer. If he doesn't win in the next election, he'll go back and he's rich. And he's in his 70s, and he'll die a rich, happy man. And his family will live and be rich and live and rich, right? Bannon's also rich. And Bannon has, Breitbart, and he's got a voice. And if this goes wrong, Bannon will still be in his little group accepted. He'll still have his money. You know who's going to suffer from this? In 2020, if Trump doesn't win, or somebody else doesn't rise up, or somebody doesn't fund me so I can do it, if that doesn't happen, we're going to suffer. Because what's going to happen then, we're not just going to get a Democrat in party, we're going to get a communist in party. Now, if you want a preview of how rapidly things go wrong when a communist gets into a party or gets into an office, look at New York City, look at Chicago, look at California, and look at Texas. Texas is falling faster than you can blink an eye. Look at Colorado, where it's now legal to urinate and defecate. It's now legal to urinate here in New York City. I could go outside and just take a piss anywhere out here. Cops aren't going to be able to do anything about it. And in Colorado and in California, I could be stoned, take a piss, and in Colorado, go defecate all over the place. Nothing the cop can do about it. I mean, does anybody else find that something a little wrong with that? Meanwhile, California is completely broke. They got an incompetent criminal governor. You have attorneys or judges and attorneys general and chiefs of police and sheriffs up in Northern California and around California that are communist. It happens fast. And if you think that Barack Obama was a leftist, Barack Obama had to slowly do things, because otherwise it would have turned bad quick. If Trump fails, and if he continues to go down this road of division, which he and Bannon systematically have started, or not started, but they've amped it up tenfold in the past 2 days, in 2020, we are not only going to lose the election, but this country is going to be shattered. And it's going to be a socialist country overnight, and the next thing after socialism is communism. Mark my word on it. And all you guys out there say, well, hell no, that's not going to happen. I got my guns and my friends. Okay. All right. We'll see. If you don't think that there's enough leftists in the military and in law enforcement to crush you, you're wrong. You're absolutely wrong. Norma says, why do you have to pick up after your dog? What do you mean there, Norma? I live in the city. I don't live in the country. If I lived where you do, I wouldn't pick up after my dog. It's called fertilizer. In the city, it's called crap. So, let's see what else. Okay, so let me see something here. One thing I liked, it seemed like Twitter was doing this for a while. They were putting the chat on the side there for a while. Oh yeah, it's on the computer. It's on the side. That actually works out quite well because it holds on to it. Anyway, so let me know what you think about this. If you agree with me, you can tweet me on Twitter. You can direct message me on Facebook. Let me know what you think about this, because I'm disgusted by this whole thing. I'm not saying that Trump is wrong, and I'm not saying Bannon is right, but I'm saying they both have handled this terribly. And while it may have been predictable on Bannon's side, I think that the way it's being handled is just horrific. It's terrible for the conservatives in this country. It's terrible. Okay, let's go to the B block, and I want to talk for a second about Afghanistan and the reality of what's going on. I talked about this a little bit last week on Newsmax, but I want to cover this a little bit more in detail. I don't think I covered it enough, and there's been some other things that have come out since. So let's go to the B block. It's hot in here. All right. So I've got some videos. Let me see if I can pull these up. That's the other thing about being on television was nice is they handle all the B-roll that they can put up on the side of the screen. And I got to do my own stuff here. So let's see here. I want to go to Mike Pence. Let me see if I can find this. There it is. I want to go and show you this with Mike Pence and what he said last month when it comes to Afghanistan, the war in Afghanistan. So it's going to take a second to pull this up. Let me put this cord in here. It's a little bit more raw when I do this stuff myself. Raw. By the way, if you haven't ordered my book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival, yes, I have a couple copies here. And by the way, I just want to say thank you to Norma and to Karen for letting me know that, because the post office didn't let me know, but they let me know that the post office, I guess, had sent them messages saying that their packages were going to be returned if I didn't pick the stuff up. So, yes, I picked it up. And Norma, I have your books, and I got all the stuff that Karen sent me. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Rico appreciates the treats. And let's give this a second to spin up here. Come on now. There it is. Okay. Let me pull this over here. Give it a second. CNN is slow. All righty. Stand by. By the way, did anybody get to see the video of the idiot Randy Kay on CNN in that dope freaking party? Sickening. CNN's gone downhill. So, I mean, they were bad before. This is really bad. I think my light's too low. All right, here we go. Now I want you to listen to this. I know I brought this up last week, but there's other stuff in here I can put in here now.
And never doubt that your mission here in Afghanistan is vital to the safety and security of the American people. 16 years ago, the forces of radical Islamic terror plotted and perpetrated the deadliest attack on Americans' homeland in the history of our nation. From the safe haven of Afghanistan,
okay, I want to hear that again.
Terror plotted and perpetrated the deadliest attack. The forces of radical Islamic terror plotted and perpetrated the deadliest attack on.
Okay, did you hear that?
16 years ago, the forces of radical Islamic terror plotted and perpetrated the deadliest attack on Americans' homeland.
Folks, how is it that an elected official, somebody who spent a career in politics like Mike Pence, in and around government briefings, he's now the vice president, he gets these briefings, how is it that they're still calling this radical Islam? 16 years ago, radical Islam did not attack the United States. Fundamental Islam attacked the United States. You could have called it Al-Qaeda. You call it whatever you want, but it was fundamental Islam. It's a fundamental belief in the caliphate, fundamental belief in the same ideology, the same practice, the same rules, the same laws as Muhammad. It all starts out like this. He's talking about Afghanistan, okay?
The history of our nation.
So poignant.
The safe haven of Afghanistan, the terrorists of Al-Qaeda, aided and abetted by the Taliban, struck the United States on September 11th.
Let's hear that again.
From the safe haven of Afghanistan, the terrorists of Al-Qaeda, aided and abetted by the Taliban.
Okay. From a safe haven in Afghanistan, the terrorists, which they're not terrorists, they are jihadists. Terrorism, we've bastardized that word. Terrorism is the use of force, intimidation, and violence for political aim. Okay, that is a tactic. These people are jihadists. They use terrorism just the same way they would if they had a ton of. Okay, so when they're on the field of battle over in Afghanistan and you're going back and forth, you're in a shootout. They're not necessarily using terrorism to scare the troops. They're in an all-out war, right? Maybe they'll use a car bomb, that's a bombing, whatever, to kill the troops. Not trying to scare them, they're trying to kill them. So technically, it's not really terrorism at that point. Look, the fact is, he's stating from a safe haven in Afghanistan, they plotted and planned the attack on the United States. Al-Qaeda did. And they carried it out with the assistance of the Taliban. Okay, we can call them whatever we want. We can say this group is the Taliban and that group is the is Al-Qaeda and that group over there is ISIS. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you call them. They're fundamental Islamic jihadists. That's it. Even they would tell you that. Exactly. They would tell you that themselves.
Struck the United States on September 11th, 2001. We all remember the day. A day where we saw 2,977 innocent men and women, mothers and fathers, sons and daughters lose their lives.
Yeah, that he got right.
The American people understood this for what it was. It was an act of war.
Yeah, that is correct. But it was not an act of war by the Taliban or Al-Qaeda. It was an act of war by fundamental Islam. And I don't know who all you freaking idiots are that are typing in Arabic, but we don't speak that. I don't speak Arabic, so I can't tell what you're trolling. If you're trying to say something in reality, you need to do it in English. And if you're trying to cast some kind of spell, that crap doesn't work on here. So that's to the Twitter trolls again. So, but yes, they did declare war on us. For all those leftists in this country that are quote unquote tired of of war and they're war weary, we haven't really fought a war. I hate to tell you this. We've been fighting battles. We have not been fighting a war because if you don't name the enemy, you can't even start to talk about strategy.
And as one nation and one people, we vowed to win this war on our terms, on this soil. And together with our allies, we came here to Afghanistan to liberate its people and prevent the terrorists from ever threatening our homeland again.
Okay, so I want you to listen to that again. Because I want you to listen to what he's saying. Talking about that we declared to go after them, to fight them on their soil, and to liberate their people. Now, I don't know where that came into the strategic plan, where just decimating an enemy came into play. This is very strange.
Mothers and fathers,
listen to it again.
And daughters lose their lives. The American people understood this for what it was.
Okay, so he's about to tell us what it actually is that we've been doing for the past 16 years in Afghanistan. Please, Mr. Pence, tell us, what is it exactly we've been doing? What is the strategic outlook of what we've been doing?
It was an act of war. And as one nation and one people, we vowed to win this war on our terms, on this soil. And together with our allies, we came here to Afghanistan to...
Okay, before he says this, We vowed to win this war on that soil. Well, that really hasn't worked out well, has it, Mr. Pence? Because the reality is there's nothing really going on in Afghanistan that has anything to do with the overall balance of power of fundamental Islam. Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan's really huge in this. Saudi Arabia is in on it. Iran has even thrown in fighters at times to support the opposition in order to defeat certain other groups. You can throw Russia in there at certain times. The fact is, it turned into a gigantic proxy war that has spread all over the Middle East, not just Afghanistan. And Afghanistan can come and go. Yemen, Benghazi, I could go on and on with all these places. North Africa, for instance, where we've had many, many people killed in operations there. Operations and skirmishes, but no strategic plan. In Afghanistan, we could pull everybody out tonight. It's not going to make a difference in the overall conflict of the war on fundamental Islam. You can say it's against the Taliban, but the Taliban has not struck us inside the continental United States. The Taliban may have given them places to train, but over the past 16 years, they pretty much trained everywhere. Syria's been a huge training place. Iraq was a huge training place. North Africa is a big training place. Yemen is a big training place. Saudi Arabia is a big training place. You're going to go to war with them on their soil, on our terms, Mr. Pence? This is nothing more than flag waving and convincing soldiers that are in there in the field that they're doing honorable things, when in reality we're putting their lives on the line for nothing. Nothing. Nothing that they are going to do in Afghanistan this year is going to make a difference in the overall outcome of the war that fundamental Islam has declared on the rest of the free world. Nothing. Now, what was he saying there? He's saying that we're going to fight them on our terms, on their soil, to go get them and
liberate its people and prevent the terrorists from ever threatening our homeland again.
So where is this liberating their people stuff? Where did that come from? How is it that we get attacked by an enemy that allows, so let's say what he's saying is halfway true. Afghanistan and the Taliban allowed or set up training camps so that Al-Qaeda could train people. I don't know whether or not they trained all 20 of those people that flew the planes in or not, but there was by far, they were all Saudi Arabian pretty much. So I don't know where we get that. Okay, so they were able to train there. They ran up and down. They went and did some drills here and there. Overall, Al-Qaeda always wanted to have big, huge, massive attacks. So that kind of is out there. But where in this did it come? Where did we make the shift? Where when somebody attacks us, we turn around and we liberate their nation. Where did that come from? What is that all about? Listen, by the way, if you haven't shared this show, I want you to stop what you're doing right now and share it. I want you to repost it on your page. If you've already shared it, share it again. If you're on Twitter, make sure that you're retweeting this show like crazy. You can retweet as much as you want. Just untweet and retweet. Go back and forth, back and forth. Just keep doing it. I don't know what Mr. Pence is talking about liberating a country. Our job in the military should be, if you come against us, or if you threaten us, or if we think you're a threat, we destroy you. That's it. We don't rebuild nations and free their people or liberate their people. That's not, this isn't Nazi Germany. This isn't Nazi Germany where they were somewhat, cultured and people lived in a regular life. Even the people who were part of the Nazi party, they still lived a somewhat normal life. You're not going to go over there and liberate those people like you liberated the Jews. The Jews were living under oppression and being killed, and we liberated them from the Nazi stronghold where they were being put into ovens and burnt. That's not happening in Afghanistan. They lived the exact same way they've lived over there for thousands and thousands of years. That's it. We're not going to go over there and liberate them. What are you going to liberate them? You tell them, okay, today we killed this warlord. You're now free. Where are they going to go? It's not like they're saying, I've been waiting to go to the big city to get my career started in Hollywood. No. It's not like I've been waiting to go to FIT, Fashion Institute Technology. I was wanting to go to West Point. No. These people have nothing. They're not going to have anything. Nothing is going to be bestowed upon them. They don't care about voting, the majority of them. They're oppressed because they are a religious nation. And their religion is a cult. I mean, that's it. There's nothing else that you can say about this. There's no liberating to be done. They believe that way. They were born that way. Their ancestors were born that way. You're not going to liberate them. There's no liberation. Are they oppressed? They live an oppressive life. But they're born into that life. There's nothing you're going to be able to do. Nothing. This is just absolute crap. Let's finish it.
And we are staying in that fight, and we will see it through to the end.
What is the end? What is the end, Mr. Pence? What is the end of this fight? Please, we're waiting for somebody to tell us. What is the end of this fight? We're going to stay in it to the end. What is the end? Liberating a country that does not want to be liberated, a people that does not want to be liberated, a people that don't even know what liberation is, and they wouldn't know what to do with it if they had it. Are you going to stop all Islamic jihadists from Afghanistan? I don't think so. No. And this is what you do when you work for the federal government and you got your blinders on. You clap for nonsense like that because you're told to clap.
Yesterday, I asked the president if he...
I don't know what happened there.
And I'm here on behalf of your commander-in-chief and all of the American people to pay a debt of honor and respect and gratitude to each and every
glitch in the matrix, folks. Hold on. Let's see here. I'm going to have to go rescue Rico in a second. All right. That's enough, Pence.
And your sacrifice.
Okay, now
give yourself.
Yeah, we don't need to see her for sure. Okay, so I thought that was bad enough. But then I was watching last week, and it took me a while to find this video. And this isn't even actually the right video, but pretty much says the same thing. And this has to do with the strategy in Afghanistan. But this is Army General John Nicholson, I think he's the, man, there's so many pop-ups you can't do anything anymore. Hold on. Good grief. Okay. So, Army Command General. Hold on, we got to wait for the commercial. Stand by. 13 seconds, we got to wait for this. I'm going to have a little drink of coffee. Okay, here we go. Let's go.
A negotiated settlement.
Okay.
The strategy is reconciliation.
Okay.
The goal of this strategy is reconciliation. The goal of this strategy is reconciliation.
Now, does that make any sense to anybody? He's saying that the goal of this strategy in Afghanistan is reconciliation. Now, let's just look up real quick. I'm going to look up for you. I already looked it up today. Reconciliation, the restoration of friendly relations. Okay, so the goal of this, once again, we heard from the vice president that we were going to go in, and over 16 years of fighting Afghanistan, one of the main goals was to liberate its people. And now we have this general that is telling us that the main goal is to restore our friendly relations in Afghanistan. Let's listen to it again. These are his words, not mine.
The goal of this strategy is reconciliation, a negotiated settlement which lowers the level of violence. We achieve this.
A negotiated settlement that lowers the level of violence. That is the strategic goal in Afghanistan, according to this command general. And it's being reported in USA Today that new Afghan strategy is a game changer. This is a game changer. We're going to go in and let's hear him say it again.
A negotiated settlement which lowers the level of violence. We achieve this by applying 3 forms of pressure on the enemy. First, military pressure. Through
pressure, not overwhelming force to destroy and kill the enemy. If we should actually be there, we're going to apply pressure on them 3 ways.
Of operations and stronger security institutions. Second, diplomatic and other forms of operations and stronger security institutions.
Okay.
Military pressure.
Military pressure.
Through offensive operations and stronger security institutions.
Offensive operations, stronger security institutions. I don't know what that means. What about fully decimating the enemy and killing anyone that practices fundamental Islam in Afghanistan? That's the only way we're going to be able to do this. That's the only way you're going to be able to do it. You're not going to be able to kind of half-ass your way through this and smile like this knucklehead is, thinking that he's got it in the bag.
Second, diplomatic and other forms of pressure on the enablers of the Taliban and
okay, I get it. Diplomatic pressures. We're going to have some offensive actions and increase security, and then we're going to put diplomatic pressure on people who live like animals. I mean, what are we going to pressure them for? We're not going to import any long, I don't know. I mean, there's no more goat sales to Afghanistan? What are we doing here? How are you going to change anything with diplomatic relations in Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, Pakistan, North Africa, Syria, Saudi Arabia? Diplomat, it's not going to change it. That's not the way they work.
Haqqani network. 3,
let's hear that again.
The Taliban and the Haqqani network.
Okay.
3,
so
diplomatic and other forms of pressure on the enablers of the Taliban and the Haqqani network. 3, social pressure in the form of elections over the next 2 years, which, if done credibly, will further enhance the legitimacy of the government in the eyes of the people.
And we know that the government in Afghanistan is Scouts honor honest and squared away, right? So they're going to use social pressure to make these people, change their ways. So they'll put up some Britney Spears. They're going to start a Nickelodeon over there. They're going to put more liberal teachers in the schools. They're going to make it not cool to behead people. They're going to make it not cool to kill gays and to stone women. That's not cool, And so they're going to put pressure on them, do a bullying campaign, I guess, like where they put up billboards and have after-school specials on whatever their network is and say, hey, and they're going to have George Clooney come on there and say, this is why you don't bully, because it ain't cool. Our American service members are going to die because of this. There are people right now, good Americans, I'd say Christians, Jews, maybe even some Muslims, soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines that are alive and walking this planet right now, living and breathing the air that God created them, living the life that God gave them in the best way possible in service to their country, to honor God and the founding fathers, and to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. They will be dead because of this. Now that should make you look at this in a whole different light. And I don't want to hear, look, I don't even feel that I need to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. I'm over the whole I've been in combat and you haven't thing coming at me every once in a while by people like Rob O'Neill and these other people. I don't care what you have to say anymore. It doesn't affect me anymore. It did at one point. The fact is, you don't have to have ever even served in the military to know that this is bullcrap and it is not going to work. Yeah, I don't care anymore. You can say all you want. I've told enough people. I've never been in combat. I've never tried to make it sound like I was in combat. So don't come at me saying that I don't know what I'm talking about. I was in the military long enough to know what a strategic plan versus a tactical plan is. I know what an overall war plan is versus a mission plan. I know what happened in 1947 when politics secreted its way into the DOD, and we haven't fought a war successfully since. I know the reality of what these people are doing and who owns the DOD, the State Department, the DOJ, the FBI, even the VA, globalists, liberals, leftists. They own these things. This is insulting, and it's going to get people killed. There will be people die because of this.
I'd point out that the military effort is necessary, but by itself not sufficient for success.
Why? Because we won't go in and decimate an enemy. That's why.
We must work together with all of the parts of the U.S. government and the coalition in order to be successful.
That's very well said, whipping boy. You did a good job. Now go on back over there and get your little bone and chew on it and shut your mouth. That's what this guy is. He's nothing more than a dog. And his handlers are telling him what to say. The only problem is he's going to turn around and put people's lives at risk, and they're going to die.
Reconciliation will take some time. We will have to continue to apply the 3 types of pressure, engage within the region, and leverage all of the instruments available to meet our goals. In the face of this pressure, the Taliban cannot win.
Really?
Their choices are to reconcile, live in irrelevance, or die.
So their choices are to be our buddies, to be irrelevant where nobody cares about them, and I'm sure they really feel like that's a big deal, or die. Well, we know the last one's not the real deal, okay? Some of them will die, but they're not going to go in and decimate the Taliban. They're not going to do that, right? I mean, you literally could bomb these people into oblivion. You wouldn't even have to put troops on the ground. You just simply bomb every village until everybody's dead, and you pretty much would get rid of the Taliban. It'd be that simple. Of course, we're not going to do that because that's not the way we fight wars anymore. We don't decimate an enemy. We consider every single person that has not actively engaged in a fight, we consider them a non-combatant, which is stupid. And so, according to this guy, according to Pence, we are going to either convince them to be our friends and to stop working with bad people, or we're going to make them, or they're just going to have to live in irrelevance for the rest of their lives. Shame on you. You don't mean anything to the world anymore. I don't think when they cut somebody's head off, they scream, the world is great. They sing, they shout, our God is great. So I don't really think that they're worried about the relevance that the world has here. And then the last thing was, or we'll kill them. Well, we know that's not the case because for 16 years we have failed to do that effectively.
This policy really is a game changer.
Really?
This policy, the pressure on external enablement, It's conditions-based, not time-based. The end state of reconciliation.
It's conditions-based, not time-based, which means they can be over there and suck the money out of our taxpayers' wallets for as long as we live. And who do you think makes the money from that? The military, industrial military machine. That's who makes their money out of this. Politicians, globalists are able to shift monies. Remember, folks, just because money gets poured towards a war doesn't mean that it goes into a war. I know, not because I've been over there, but because I know when all the money was getting poured in the DOD, when I was in, we still had crap equipment. The only people who get the great equipment are Tier 1 assets. That's it.
The diplomatic, military, social pressure is really fundamentally different. And that's why I express confidence that we are on our way to is really reconciliation. The diplomatic, military, social pressure is really fundamentally different.
The diplomatic, military, and social pressure is really different. Folks, this is your commanding general of the United States Army. This should scare you to death. You're smart. You all are smart enough to see the reality of this.
And that's why I express confidence that we are on our way to a win.
I don't know where he's getting all this confidence. Whew. This is just crazy. I guess it makes for good social media TV, but come on, folks. This is absolutely ridiculous. This is a nightmare. And when I started talking today about Trump and Bannon, do you see now how devastating their lack of unity and the lack of unity of the conservatives in this country? Do you see now how dangerous this is? Folks, this is what we're dealing with. These are the people that we're dealing with right here. This is a very scary time because the people that are in charge of making decisions, it's not like in World War II where we knew we were going to go over there and crush our enemy. We don't know that now. That general was General Nicholson. So, listen, I think that's about it. Tomorrow I'll come up and do the Friday night toast with you guys. I was hoping the numbers would be better tonight because it's snowy and nobody's out, but I don't know, maybe people just gave up on me after last week, thought I wasn't coming back on here. But the numbers are still not bad. They're just not as great. Maybe we'll get a lot of people watching this afterwards. And so... that's about it. Anybody got anything? Anybody? Let's see here. Stand by. Boom. Shakalaka. So that's it, folks. I think we'll go ahead and call it a night. Anybody else got anything? We'll see what's going to happen with Newsmax. I don't know yet. We got some stuff we got to work out. But I'm going to be here regardless. And... again, if you have anything, you can tweet me, you can Facebook me, you can put up a smoke signal. I'll try to answer it, okay? That's about it. I love every single one of you. It was weird being away there. I like the 8 o'clock hour. I like being able to come on here at night. It was nice having assistants to produce the show, but at the same time, I'd rather have this hour. I'd rather get to you all this way. Again, if you haven't ordered the book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness, or even if you have, go out and order it again. Give it to somebody. I gave a speech the other day. We sold a butt ton of these books because people are blown away by what it's teaching, and it is growing. People they're opening up this book and they're reading through it, and they're being amazed at the fact that they've been taught how to think wrong when it comes to dealing with threats in this country. They've been told if you see something, say something. They haven't been told what to look for, and they haven't been told on the way that you look in order to see those people and those things. So I'm giving you those tools. Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness, and Attack Survival. If you're a troll that's on here, go check it out. You might like it. And for that, whoever that knucklehead was on earlier that said something about Jocko doesn't whine. I'm not whining. I don't know anything about whining on here. This is reality, and this is a big deal. This is a problem in this country with the breakdown of conservatism and the leadership that we have in office now of Steve Bannon and Trump, two people who should not be arguing publicly, and they are causing a wave, a tsunami that's going to cause problems in 2020. And when it comes to these generals, when it comes to the vice president and all these people talking about Afghanistan, it's horse crap. It's absolute horse crap. It's going to get our service members killed, and it is going to fix nothing. If we're going to go to war with an enemy, we destroy. First of all, if you name the enemy, you don't play around with that. You name the enemy, and then you go to war and you destroy the enemy. You eliminate them from this earth. We have not done that. We are not doing that. So my part is to empower you through this knowledge, to give you this book so that you have knowledge. Make sure that you get it. Make sure that you follow me on Twitter, like my page on Facebook, subscribe to me on YouTube, and we will continue to spread the word. Folks, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have the power to be on Newsmax or other places and host the Sean Hannity radio show when I do, or David Webb or Andrew Wilkow when I host their shows. The fact is, the following that we have from this show, the word of mouth, and all the things that you have done to help build this up have put a power behind this truth. So continue to do that. The GoFundMe page, you see it right here, GoFund.me/The Experts Roadshow. Don't give up on that. Keep donating to that. And as soon as the snow melts and my leg gets a little bit better, if I'm not on a news network or I don't have a show, I'm going to go back out on the road. I'm going to go back on the road anyway. I got to get out on the road speaking and talking about this book. Continue to fund this show. Continue to stand with me. Continue to spread the word. And this show is yours. All right? This is like a polygraph, right? You go sit, when you take a polygraph, you get interviewed by a polygrapher for an hour or 2 hours. In the case, one time when I did, it was like 2 8-hour sessions, horrible. And then they give you the polygraph, right? And everybody thinks that test, that polygraph, is the actual thing to be scared of. It's not. It's the interview before the polygraph. It's these expert interviewers and how they know in statement analysis, they know how to analyze everything you're saying. This show is the same way. Me sitting here giving you information, that's only part of what this is. It's good for you to see and understand how you can see beyond the headlines and how you can see beyond the bullcrap that, like this guy spewing that was just on here, this general and Mike Pence there a minute ago. But ultimately, the fact that you guys are coming on here, that you debate, that you have dialogue, that you see these weirdo trolls, so you understand that they exist out there and how it doesn't matter what you say to them or do. They're just robots in their mind. It's good for you to experience that. So this show is bigger than me talking to you. This show is about you spreading the word and showing up here and taking part in this. That is what this is all about. Let's go to the Truth Zone, shall we? Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. So I pretty much said everything right then. Should have done the Truth Zone when I was closing that. But here's the fact, folks. It was good to come back here tonight and to be a part of this thing that we've been doing for 2 years again, to see the same people show up, I know I can count on you all to spread the word. I know that all of you have bought this book. I know when I said last week, everybody go out and get the book, I went and bought it. I know a bunch of people bought it. I saw the numbers. I can see the numbers on Amazon, the way they fluctuate. Remember, folks, we only have one life to live here. Ultimately, we're here to learn. We're here to prove that we can be taught. We're here to show that we can be trusted and that we won't quit God. That's what we're here for. Just like boot camp or SEAL training or any other training. The reality is we're here to stand together. We're here to see beyond the narrative and the control and the horse crap like this general was just spewing here a second ago. God put you here, and He gave you a set of characteristics that allow you to reason, to love, to hate, to feel anger, to feel joy, to feel triumph and loss. He gave you these senses so that you could go out and grow the things that He gave you. Just like the parable where Jesus was talking about a rich man, and he gave a talent to 5 talents to one guy, 3 talents to another guy, and then a talent to another guy. You know, the 2 guys, one guy got 5, he went out and brought 5 more back, he invested them. The other guy took his 3, he invested them, he brought back 3 more. And then the one guy buried his talent and then gave his 1 talent back. That's not what He's looking for. He's looking to see if you could be trained, if you could be trusted, and if you won't quit. And if you show up here, if you spread the word, if you continue to believe in the Constitution and to stand against these trolls and these leftists and these liars like these generals and these politicians together, we will be the ones that unify this country. Forget about those people. We will show up unified. I'm Jonathan Gillum. My good buddy Rico is so far away I'd grab him. He's asleep over there, though. This is The Experts. And remember, wherever you see me, wherever you hear this voice, wherever you're standing with me, the truth has arrived. I'll see you tomorrow for the Friday Night Toast. Breaking news on The Experts. It is so cold outside that Elizabeth Warren has now claimed that she is an Eskimo. That is all. I didn't make that joke up, by the way. Somebody just sent that to me. How many of you are prepared for an incident like this? Get my new book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival, and I will teach you to think like an attacker so you can truly defend yourself. Don't just react, act. Available for pre-order now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Sheep No More. Get it.
That's all, folks. See you tomorrow. Friday Night Toast. Peace.